Hello, this is Superhuman Training.
Playfully embodying the new spiritual renaissance.
I'm Colby Collins.
And I'm Melissa Orion.
And today our episode 4 is entitled Reclaiming Our Space, Restoring Our Bodies, Restoring the Planet.
That is a huge topic. And really, I think in this one, I feel it the most, and I'm kind of nervous to get into this dialogue. So let's check in. Colby, how has your week been?
My week has been fairly exciting, just preparing for my daughter Sarah to come for her first visit to Portland. So that's been really exciting. And then also feeling a pretty big slowdown, feeling things accelerate in a lot of ways with my work and with things that are really important to me, and then feeling a slowdown as the things that I'm sort of outgrowing are beginning to lose power and energy and pull. So
Beautiful.
It's an interesting time
A
for sure.
balance.
Yeah, and I think that perfectly relates to just this keen awareness that's been coming around about how am I intentionally maintaining my space and taking care of all of the physical practicalities with my health and my body and finances and all of that.
Wow,
So,
well that fits perfectly into this week. That was well planned by the universe. This week has been kind of similar. I've been planning a lot, and so I've been on a lot of the research mode because I have very big things on the table that I could do, and they could put me on an airplane there or in a car there and doing this kind of thing or expressing this kind of thing, or I can ground and incubate and spend some time planning food and putting my hands in the dirt. And that's been kind of a push-pull, and I've been having to sit a lot more and ask myself a lot of those deep questions. What matters the most to me? And I spoke it really well to Leela a little while ago. I think you heard me when she called. This was a funny thing. I have a friend that I've been really wanting to get back in touch with. I lost her number, and I'm taking a fast from Facebook right now, and so I wasn't able to get a hold of her in those realms. And so today I spoke her name to Colby, and then poof, she called me within 10 minutes.
Yeah, that
and
was amazing.
The conversation was perfectly timed also because I had just this little breath of time before we were going to do this podcast and before we were going to eat lunch, and I got to have a little chat with her. And the thing that came through so clearly was I have created a space in my own inner world where I'm asking myself every day now, if I was to die next year, what would the things that I want to leave be? And then if I was to die today, how would I want to live in this moment? And so that balance point of what are the things that are really important for my soul to leave on this planet and give, because you know me, I am such a vision holder that sees the whole box top of everything, that it's been really difficult at times in my life, not over the last few years so much, but at other times to be so immersed in the big vision that it's hard to know exactly what I'm doing right now. But for a long time I know exactly what I'm doing right now, and it's really big feeling in my heart and in my body, but it doesn't every single day feel exciting because there's so much logistics in planning these big projects. And so to really question myself every single day, what space am I creating right now to be in the present moment? And what are the things that really are true from my heart that I want to do and give? And performance is a lot more of it. I want to be on stage a lot more. I want to be singing so much more. I want to be dancing so much more. And storytelling through that medium.
Right.
And so this big journey that I've been on with my rock opera circus spectacular, that really started my superhuman training, that I coined the term superhuman training program in my own reality, and I said SHTP.
Yeah,
SHTP looks like 5-HTP, so it was
yeah,
like a boost.
My friend actually said, it was like, what's the acronym for going to be in superhuman training? And SHT is like, looked like shit.
That's hilarious.
I was like, we got to have the P in there.
SHTP is like 5-HTP, and
Yes.
it was like a boost for my serotonin, a boost for my nervous system, and it was a process in which, in my reality, I created a space for myself where I had a 2-year window is what I'd set, and then it turned into 6, where I was to stay out of the box of I can't, stay out of the box of someone else's problem or someone else's project, and stay out of the box of a relationship with another. And so I put those on hold for 2 years, and I did more in that 2-year window of my superhuman training than any other window of my life. I went to acting school, I did vocal training, I did dance training, I started a dance troupe, I started a satirical comedy variety show, I started the streetcar named Inspire, mobile inspiration unit that was first a food cart in Portland. The containers at which we create in our reality are how we can present to the world our gifts and our offerings. And so it starts at home. And so I think that is a really good segue for us into this week.
As I'm listening to you, I'm realizing that, because to be completely honest, I was just doing a bit of research on my North Node this morning, and the North Node relates to our destiny, or our soul's most wanting to cultivate in this lifetime. And my North Node is in Taurus in the 11th house, and Taurus is all about the earth and bringing in abundance that comes from the balance of when everything is in harmony, and how the earth is so fruitful and fertile. And as a metaphor for our own human consciousness and this body is constantly renewing itself and growing and shifting and adapting. And so that's our natural ordered state. But for me, in my humility, is that earth stuff, taking care of the details. And as I was hearing you talk, it's so easy to be in the air of the big vision and to be connected with this oceanic spiritual consciousness. But we're here to express it here, to ground it here. And take that big vision and be like, well, what's step one? And Spirit said to me, and I have my humility is that this is a very huge challenge for me in my life thus far, of feeling comfortable or joyful in my body, or in mundane tasks, or working with finances, everything that represents something that's I've even not wanted to have a home or stay in one dwelling place for very long. And so I'm in this radical shift now of moving my conscious investments, which is really what the superhuman skill is, to consciously choose what we're valuing, what we're paying attention to. And I'm doing that in cultivating this Taurus energy, right, which is unfamiliar. And the Spirit said to me that if you take the vibration of where it is you think you're going, and feel that as a resonance field, and then when you're doing step one, that maybe it's just sweeping the rug so that you have a place to sit to do your practice, where you're going to get the ideas that you're then going to write down, that you're then going to execute in this whole ordered plan of manifesting it, of bringing it down, to bring that energy to every single little step, right? And that has been very helpful for me indeed, because a lot of times we perceive that it's a pain or it's a hassle, or we get stressed out about the things that we do. Those are status quo stories. And then because and I know for me, and because I have had that projection or value on it, then I want to resist them or
right. I've seen that.
Yeah. To procrastinate, whatever it is, and then of course it builds up, and then all of a sudden you have to go and deal with this big mess. And so it's exciting to me in thinking about this episode about the clarity that what actually is most efficient is to bring mindfulness to all the little things that I got to do, and to build this pyramid with a really strong anchored foundation, anchored practices, anchored habits that are in harmony. And that when I know that I do that for myself, all of the base needs, so that I can then actually bring my genius here, are created and covered. And then when that happens, my life begins to work the best it could possibly work for me. And our question here in the greater context is, well, what if all of us were doing that?
Right.
Then what would we be? We'd be creating new ways of using our resources on a societal level that would end, these big problems that like global warming and all of that. So.
Right. And so in this context, thank you so much, Colby. That's heart-opening, mind-blowing, radical stuff, because the Christ consciousness grid that people speak about is, in effect, that connectivity point of all sentient beings, recognizing that they're all sentient beings, and that we have that Vesica Pisces of connection between each being.
Oh, wish y'all could see what she's doing with her
my hands. My hands are doing this. Puppet show. Yes, I basically created the flower of life with my hands in front of Colby right here in a 3D sense.
Yes.
So if you thought about the 3D connectivity of the whole planet, and if each person was what is that old folklore? I wish I would have looked it up. The sweeping, everyone sweeps their front door, then the whole world will be clean.
Right.
Well, I've always thought of it as everyone builds their foundation. And so you spoke it so beautifully by saying you're building your pyramid unto yourself, right? And if you build that base, if you get your base needs
it's all about
met,
that base.
About that base. Building that stable foundation, and it's really space making. It's a practice where you start with
and
the
it's full of
inner
lots
part.
of little menial, simple tasks that a lot of time are about
where
hygiene.
does it start, though? It starts with listening. It starts with listening to what is real, what is true in you, what is real and what is true around you to keep that functioning. So if that inner voice, and we've talked about just last week the inner child, and we talked before that about just listening to our yes and our no, and then finding our rhythm of the day to create a container. And if this episode elaborates in the most natural way, then I would say that the celebration of all those parts, the unity of all those parts, is how you make your space, whether it's your house, or if you're a traveler, whether it's your way you pack your bag. It is your intention and your attention to the reality that surrounds you that becomes a reflectivity point of what you want to create. And that vibrational harmony that you spoke of living in it from step one to the end, you can do that in really the metaphorical feng shui of your entire life. You can do that.
I'll say that again, metaphorical feng shui of your life.
And really, feng shui is that. It's not even needing to be a metaphor, because the feng shui of your reality outside of your physical space is really, in effect, to make the easiest route for your inner consciousness to guide you and give you the best, most beautiful, abundant life. And so an altar in this area signifies this, and altar in this area signifies this. But regardless of where you put an altar in your reality, or if you follow that bagua, I believe is the way it's said, then your clutter means the same thing no matter where it is. Your disvaluing of your space.
Well, and I
means
think
the
that's
same
what that
thing
was just clear to me just then.
Right.
What is the clutter? And from what I had just said a moment ago, and that because I am valuing something inappropriately, right? I'm seeing this I'm not valuing that task as an integral piece of this whole that I'm creating, and I just see it as a nuisance. Then I'm avoiding that, and that's what the clutter is. You know, our physical clutter and then all of our emotional clutter. And I also, as you were talking, I saw an angel come down around you, and she had a little dry erase board, and it had a gold star sticker on it, and it said superhuman quality number 137. The ability to slow down, the ability to create matter and manipulate matter. And I was just thinking about in ancient Egypt and the lifetimes I've remembered there, that they could manipulate matter so as to materialize objects or dematerialize objects. And in that kind of fantastical way of thinking, because I was sitting here thinking, well, what do I need first to even be in the vibration of the kind of masterful living that you were speaking of? And she said to me, it's slow down, and that the physical dimension is the energy patterns moving the slowest. That's what brings it into matter, is that it literally slows down. And I was thinking about how fast we are. We got to get to that next thing. We got to do that next task. We can get it done, so I can rest, and whatever it is. And this ability to actually slow down, to see where does that chair want to be in the room, and where does this energy want to go, and thinking about everything like that. And without that intentional, conscious slowing down, then we can't fully access what's all here. I mean, we have to take a moment to look at something so that we can notice everything that's here in order to have, the most efficient possibility of making it what we want, and so that we're not having all this clutter and damage control that is taking a lot of energy away from us.
Right, because those are all symptoms, really, of a deeper vibration that's in disharmony. And so when we can give things attention and honor them, that chair is a chair, but it also is a being that someone created. Someone created that. I think constantly about the objects in my reality that I honor, especially the ones that I'm so grateful come to me from my family members, and so they came across in boats, like these are old pieces, some of them, and some of them are new, and I got them at a thrift store. And the idea, though, that they were imagination and then they came into form. I'm a super Taurus. I love to make things from imagination into form. I've done it my entire life. It's my superpower.
Yeah.
I can walk into someone's house and they say, we need this to happen because we have a party coming. Well, you think you don't have anything, but look, this whole cupboard is just magic waiting to happen.
Right.
Let's do it. Or they think that they have no food, and then I'm like, well, let's just look through it and see. And there's magic feast.
Right.
The infinite possibility of idea into form is where I probably get off the most. And so it's so cool that what you told me earlier today when you looked at your chart was that you're a North Node. And I don't know a millitenth of what you know about astrology, but you're so beautiful and poignant when you speak about it. And what you saw was that I'm right at where your North Node is, my moon.
Your moon,
and so my moon being my Taurus energy, just as my sun and moon in the same, I see my inner world really well, and my inner world sees my outer world really well. And so I'm really great at making space. It's such a powerful blessing for me in the production world, in the media world, and just at home. I love to have houses for people to come and stay.
Is to set the space.
And so this is what I'm getting to, is that the idea that everyone is a creator of their space, no matter if you have any decorating skills or not. It's your attention and your intention that makes a space into an outer reflection of what you want to become. And so the more
or what you're vibrating as.
What you're vibrating as. Well, and they're in harmony, hopefully. So because we are at the beginning of our journey 4 episodes ago saying that we're learning to listen to what that inner harmony is, at this point in the superhuman journey, I would hope. Abolish hope. I hate that word. I don't even like the word hate. Get rid of both those words. Cancel, delete.
I would delightfully
expect that our friends in this journey would be knowing what they want and feeling it in their body with such a pure
and
yes.
Their power to create it.
And claiming their power to create it. And then anything can be an altar. So if you like to be in the dirt, plant some flowers. Move some rocks around to set an intention. If you like to kneel and sit in front of a candle or some incense, then make a space that is altered, A-L-T-A-R. And I really think that these outer reflections in my reality have set a rhythm for myself, and I check in with them. And so the same thing with the vision board, where people are so excited these days in the spiritual community about having your vision board and creating your vision board. And most of the time they're cutting things out of magazines, and I have nothing against that. I think that's fun. But that wasn't you, actually. You can make a world outside of yourself that is 3D vision board. You have that capability.
It's actually, I've seen it like a sphere, like a holographic sphere, and then talking about it's actually another superhuman quality is an awareness of our energy field, multidimensional awareness.
There you go.
So it's like I'm in this body, but this body is an expression, an amalgamation of higher frequency energies, and I get to express those higher frequency energies. And so then really the altar is our own conscious awareness of our energy, and we're bringing that and engaging with all the spaces, and then whatever space that we have to create that's actual a physical space or a home or a room or event space, then we're expressing that with all the object. The energy is literally right there. That's we're carrying this with us all the time, of like how we're creating and holding our energetic space.
It's beautiful. I love that we now can kind of give a grand segue into how does this click together in the global sense. And as we said earlier,
because we got a lot of shit to clean up.
If we've got the base needs met of individuals, and there's individuals that are being able to live in harmony, and there's some people in the world that have learned to live in harmony with their own inner world, and they've created a loop system where they're not actually creating garbage. There are people that are learning to do that in the Western world. There's people still doing that in a non-Western world. And how can we navigate in a way of creating the pyramid of our reality around us, or that sphere around us, and how do we click together in these bigger ways. And so I'm excited because this whole journey that we're on with this 13 episodes is really about this same topic. And my kind of core truth that I come back to is play and people getting together to do stuff is pretty much the way I see the world, all coming back together in harmony. And so if we look at things like
we can make a new world now.
Yes, exactly.
Let's get together.
Yeah. So if we recognize that there are people doing it in every community all around the world that are getting together to build or do something, whether it's a garden, whether it's a barbecue, whatever it is, people are getting together all the time. And if we can start recognizing that these synergy points are the real crucibles for the change, and if we can
#change crucible.
The change crucible. If we can offer more of these, and we can offer more spaces for people to make space, right? So the place-making initiatives around the world are some of the things that I'm most excited about. And I, for a long time, have been palling around with a lot of people that describe themselves as social permaculturists. And I really like that because permaculture is about permanent culture. It's not about reaching sustainability right now. It's about thrivability long term. It's about creating networks, or at least in my heart, I recognize it's not creating them, it's seeing them. It's just uniting our minds to see that they're already there, and then the fences that we've put up, that we've been taught to put up, they fall away because there's a much deeper connection, right? And we understand that because we're on the superhuman journey of recognizing the signs, seeing those little glimpses, those really sparkly symbols floating over the top of characters in the reality or places that we're supposed to go. Like, that's a part of our mythos, but some people in the world have forgotten that.
Well,
sadly.
because they're so busy and going this fast pace, trying to dog eat dog and take care of yourself. And it's really interesting, this juxtaposition that for whatever reason today, my psychic attunements are very, I mean, this angel that's behind you is showing me this bullseye, and she's handed me this arrow to throw to the bullseye. And the bullseye is that the reason why that we've been in this state is a primary identification and investment in a reality that is lack-based, limited-based, pain-based. So that if I have my worldview as that and my view of my own person as that, then I'm only going to be concerned with getting as much as I can, hoarding as much as I can, and not thinking about everything else and anyone else. And in that, we are not seeing all of the resources that are available to us. And earlier today when you were talking about the food, that so much food is wasted. I'm thinking about clutter and waste and all of that. And that it's not really even about getting anything that we don't already have. It's that integral shift, and this is what being a superhuman is, to be an awakened, sovereign being, a intentional creator and manifester. And in order to do that, you must be aware of what your resources actually are, and then to have the conviction to assign the appropriate value and investment, and your physical investments that you're doing, your actions, then bring about the most effective and efficient thing. And so I'm thinking about communities and permaculture and how we're growing our food and all these systems, and it goes right back to, it's like, well, we are gluttonous because we're afraid that we're not going to have enough. And then we're keeping, we're not sharing with others that have less than us because we need to feel like we're better than them, so as to continue to feel like...
And afraid of tomorrow.
That's right. And all of that is based on this insecurity of like, there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough.
There's not enough, and I need to be safe.
And that's the difference in the, unawake kind of pain-based person and what we're calling a superhuman, is that when you're aware of infinite resource and abundance around you in the form of creativity, that you then know that you can take that and bring it into the world, as you were saying with your art and with what we're doing here, even having our voices recorded and it going out and people listening. There's always a sense of sharing. Why wouldn't I share? If I have more than enough, why wouldn't I want to share?
And
then we're looking at
feeling.
everything, and then people are going, wow, there actually is plenty of food to feed every mouth on the planet. There's plenty of money for everything to happen. It's that shift in consciousness, like, oh, let's just take a minute and really look at this water system or our garden or what it can be, and that it's all right there. And we
Right.
reach out and do
So
it.
then the micro to this whole thing, bringing it back down, is creating the space in our reality to even see that it's possible, and creating our world around us, our bubble around us, to be a reflection of that. And then when we move in the world, we are space embodied. We are embodying that we have been living. And then that clicks together, because it's just natural vibrational harmony,
right.
that it effortlessly clicks together with others at that frequency. And then solutions come through, not solutions, because there really are no problems. Those are constructs of our mind that are creating that. And when we start to recognize constantly that we are one, then we will remember we have one, right? And I want to just get on some of these superhuman words that are cast into the spells of our lexicon. The allowance, to get your allowance is to allow. To get an allowance from God, the parent,
and that's our
is
personal
to
practice
allow.
we were talking about, creating a space for that.
To be in the perpetual opening of the present moment, to be opening the present moment, to be in your moment, opening it. It's always a present. It's always opening for you, right?
Yes.
Those are harmony points for us to come back to. There's other words that don't feel so resonant, and those ones I believe are really put there for us to remember to be in that present moment and allow ourselves to let it all in, right? And then I love the word inspiration and inspire, because to be inspired is to breathe in. And
Yes.
we've spoken about this before, but to breathe.
What could be more natural?
What could be more natural, right? And so if we are one breath and one being of the planet, breathing, then if we allow ourselves to let go into the present moment and be breathed, to be
That's right.
in the flow, to be completely buoyant on the sea, right? I'm undulating right now back and forth like I'm on a very slow wave, and I'm allowing myself to be breathed. When I do that practice in my day, I don't need to slow my breath down and get present. I am breath. And the breath that is so slow, like a whale's breath, it just fills me.
I'm just thinking this funny thing, like, I'm God's breath. Sometimes he got bad breath.
Well, it's where is your proximity? What are you in proximity to? So what is being breathed through you? So I'm excited about what is happening right now, because what I keep meditating on, what keeps coming back to me, because I don't see things like Colby does. He sees them, and I feel them, and then I see them in dreams, right? And so I get to wake up and be in the feeling state of it all day long from a thing I saw in a dream. But I'm not a seer during the day like you are yet. I'll allow myself to be when it's present and available. But in this harmony with what is real, I completely lost my train. I love that. I went so in the present moment, because my brain body was like, you aren't letting yourself see the angels that Colby's seeing. And I went into like some sort of space of like denial of it, and then I had to check myself. So I lost my train of thought. That's so interesting. That usually,
runaway train.
Usually I'm the continuity director that can bring anyone back, and in that moment my ego took over. So that's a real fun one.
Well, the angel was doing paintings all around you.
Oh, she was?
As we were talking. And
Oh, fabulous.
And what I was getting from what you were saying, again, is coming around to, what are we creating? You know, and in order to be in a space to create anything, you must be resourced. You can be tired or feeling lack or just trying to survive and go. And if we could surrender that for a moment, you know, and that is a perpetual practice, as you were speaking about being in the breath. This is what being in the flow actually is. It's already here. We don't have to do anything.
But
and all the work that we've made for ourselves is really, we've brought it upon ourselves, and our unwillingness to open to the moment. You know, that was the I mean, that is really it. You know, the power, that's where our resources are, is presence in the moment. And the ease of letting go into my body already knows how to breathe. My soul already knows how to bring itself here. All right, and I'm relaxing into that. And then cultivating, for me, this is what courage is. Courage is to say yes to a gift that's right in front of you.
Beautiful. That's exactly what
right
I was
into
feeling.
your face. The courage is just to say yes to it, to let things be easier, to let yourself off the hook, and to be like, what am I actually capable of? And I love the symbol of that, of in a time when I was in a place of struggle with addiction, or struggle with complacency, or struggle with self-sabotage, and this sense of like, who's going to help me? I need help. I don't have enough. I need someone to save me, kind of thing. And that energy was not there and available to me. And when I was able to face that, and Spirit said, what can you do right now that you don't need any help to do? It doesn't matter what it is. Something that I know I am resourced and capable to put action and to bring into my experience. And even if it's like a painting, I know I can paint a picture of a dog. I mean, I can't, but Melissa can. Then that would be something, you know what, I know that I can sit and meditate and do yoga and do this. I can help that. And then in the helplessness, I realized my true identity as the helper. And that's the journey from victimhood to creator, from lack through that journey into resource.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so it seems that the reflection of what I was feeling as you were speaking and going back to the space making, that I have lived in so many different types of spaces, and I've been nomadic and lived in, pop-up spaces all over the place. The amount of time you are in some place is irrelevant, but what is around you can seem so lacking, or can seem so abundant, but you really get to relate the value, and you get to order the things around your personal space. And okay, so maybe it's a little different if you go and stay on your aunt's couch, but you can't really organize her living room sometimes. But if you are
I at least put their drawers in and put their pen lids back on. Can't help that.
I tidy up everywhere I go, and I'm not going to take all responsibility for when I'm staying places to fix the shui everywhere. But the dynamic nature of the world that is around us, we can pay it attention. And when we pay our attention, like we've talked about before, when we pay our energy forward, every tiny bit of service that we give the world around us to make it more organized and more beautiful, it is a service for our life. It pays our life forward, and we receive from it. So there was something I was so resistant to. My dad made us clean the kitchen spotlessly every single night. And I was just so resistant to it when I was young. And it was the natural family rhythm. And I liked the fact that we cooked together. And I liked the fact that we ate together. But I didn't like the fact that we all had to clean up together. And I didn't like the fact that my dad made me look at the counter at a horizontal angle to see if there was crumbs there. There was like certain little things that I was really resistant to.
Well, because
Well, yeah. It was just, I had resistance to it until I moved out and lived with people that didn't clean the kitchen at night. And so then when I came in the morning and it was really messy, and I have not always been great on this myself. I'm not going to be like the hypocrite right now and state that I've been like the best. But I know the resonance that is in my body when I come to an altered space. When I come to a space like my parents' house where all rooms are organized and clean, and all countertops are clean, and it feels so much more like the possibility is present for creativity, because the foundation is set.
Exactly.
And so the more that I've lived in tiny spaces, the more I've learned how the lack of the extra stuff can actually harmonize me with knowing what is right around me. Like I lived in this tiny place I called the Purple Palace, and it was 10 feet by 15 feet with a little loft in my friend's backyard, and it wasn't technically a tiny home because it wasn't on wheels, but it could have been. And it had such a fun energy in it because I had organized everything meticulously. And it could be pitch black and I could find anything I needed. And I love that place that my brain got into at that time in my life.
What did that give? What does that like give you? Because that's where I'm.
It was a superhuman power.
Yes.
Because now I have that as an artist, because I can have all the tools around me in a field and I can feel them and just grab them. And I don't even need to know exactly where they are when I have them. I often will set up on the floor with a piece, and they're all around me, all the tools, and I can just feel them and grab them when I need them.
Can I synthesize a few things that you're saying into the critical points? Because as I was hearing about the cooking and cleaning and all that, and also about how we're keeping our space clean, and the perception that it actually is a reflection of flow state. Flow is what's going to be most efficient. And when we're resourced, we're going to be efficiently using the resources in a way that it's sustainable, that we get more resources back from it. And you can think about it really clearly in the cooking and cleaning thing, in that people put so much drama into that, and it's because they're still bringing the pain into it. I did all the cooking, I did all this for you, I provided for you, now you have to do this horrible mess that I created. When what flow is that there's a way to clean as you go. So you cook this, you clean that immediately, so that when the food is actually on the table, it's already clean, because those moments are all there. But because we have this thing of like, they're going to owe me, right? And that comes from a baseline of lack, right? You owe me, right? If I'm abundantly resourced, then no one could ever owe me anything.
Right.
So then we're doing that, and it's like, even like the bathroom. It's like, why did this toilet get so crazy dirty that it's going to take an hour of scrubbing in this very uncomfortable thing, when actually I could incorporate that
into the rhythm.
30 extra seconds at the end of bathroom time, everything gets wiped down. There's not a lot to clean, and then it just always stays clean. It's like, isn't that a nada? And to me, so many epiphanies are like that. There is a way better, more efficient way if you get out of this thing of like, I have to earn things, or this is work, or people are owing me, or all that. If you remove that pain element, then things become so much easier. And it's one of my absolute greatest, most satisfying, simple pleasures, is to know that in my space, I'm a minimalist and I have a small studio space, but there are no superfluous items. Everything either has a function or something that is representing something, beauty or decoration, that has a specific place. And before I walk out, everything is in its place, and the bed is made so that there's an energy that when I open the door to come into my home, it is waiting for me right there as clear energy. And it really doesn't take that much to do it. I mean, I spend maybe 1 minute tidying before I walk out.
We will remind you, Colby, that you just said that you live in a small studio, which is not like most people.
But that's the whole point of it. It's like, why do we have all this stuff that we don't need?
And so in that superfluous stuff, there is another whole dialogue about that we can get to around that garbage in our life, and how do we really hold on to baggage through all these piles of things. And so that's a whole other topic. But you hit on something that I love so much that became a superhuman aspect of my training. In the beginning of my superhuman training program, when I started doing my mirror practice, I did, at the same point, I created an addendum, okay? So an addition equation. Instead of removing things like all my friends were doing, and I had done it before with cleanses, and I had done it before mentally, but it never really worked for me. I wanted to add things in. And so in my superhuman training program, I was like, I'm adding this, I'm adding this, I'm adding this. And so the thing that I added that I was really resistant to, that besides cleaning the kitchen every night that I had learned from my father, was from my mother, and it was making the bed every day, so that when you come back to the bed is made. And I said, when I was young, I was like, you're going to get back in it.
Yeah, mess it up again.
And you're not messing up again. I was just like, and I don't even tuck my sheets because I like them wrapped around my legs. Like, come on, Mom, this is crazy. And then I got into this practice with myself with my morning rituals, and I had a different evaluation on when I walked into my space. And so the way I had altered the area around my altar had spread. I had made a little altar in my room, and it had significant things that I needed for my practice, I had thought, and they become a focus point. And then it spread. And the way I was seeing everything else had to go with that same harmony. And so the making of my bed in the morning, that little 2-minute ritual, became something that when I would walk in the door, it was like a high five from my past self. My past self was like, yeah, have a good night here. You did great today. And those little things that we can do for ourselves, those ways that we can alter our surroundings so that we can give ourselves a container to be in a flow state.
To be in the moment.
Like we're speaking so much about, but really it's about being in the moment with gratitude. If we can be in a perception of gratitude when we look around, and we're in a really beautiful place right now with our friend has done little cute things in her reality, and we know that her attention and her intention was present in each moment. You can feel her appreciation. And you know, one of my favorite things in the world is exposed old brick. So getting to look at old brick that somebody has loved and put attention into over the years.
So I want to really, bring what we were saying about our perception and value of cleanliness and how that most of us actually have a derogatory or traumatic even experience with the assertion of cleanliness because our parents are unaware that while they are teaching us and guiding us in practices that are going to be most beneficial, they're putting all this pain into it as well, so that we resist it. And like your dad was obviously, maybe perhaps subconsciously in a thing of like, I'm going to teach them about hard work and uncomfortability and being a perfectionist, when really all of that you could have been cooking and cleaning all together, and still getting the message about this is what clean energy is, but it had to come with that, that pain there, and that's really how we're evolving. And when I think about how wonderful it's like, clean your shit up, right? And really what that's doing is getting complete with and taking responsibility for all your investments from the past so that you can be in a clean and clear space to be available to the present moment, and that's a metaphor. If I walk into my space and it's all trashed from last night, I'm sitting in last night's energy. I'm not able to be in now's energy.
Got to bring it back to blank.
Right, bring it back and it's really about bringing it back to now. And doing that with our emotional baggage and our emotional clutter and our mental clutter and our physical clutter and all the things. And if that is what I would want anyone listening to this to get most from this episode, is to be inspired to consider their ability to own cleaning and purifying and completing and integrating whatever needs to be done and to feel joyful about that, so that that, wow, I can be fully present right here and fully open to whatever miracle or magic thing can happen. And to start choosing to live that way, and to know that it actually isn't, it's going to be way less work than the way you're doing it now, where you just let stuff pile up and then you have to deal with it. Way less work, way less uncomfortable.
When you get it back to neutral.
Right, when you're just integrating these small little things. Like I wipe the toilet seat every single time I use it, right? It's just, and those little things, and that when we're all living like that in efficiency, and then we are networking together, and say we're living in a community house, or now we're on a big property that's going to be able to have its own sustainability, or the way that we are a consumer, what products we're buying, all of a sudden we're cultivating and maintaining this energy in our personal life in these little ways that we can do right now, you can do right now. Then you're going to be able to recognize other people who are living there. Oh my God, that business, they're doing that, I do that, I'm going to buy their product. And you see, we start to flower out to where these bigger problems of hunger and global warming and waste and the trash in the oceans and the pollution, all these big things, suddenly begin to be more clear about how we're getting there. And that's what this question was about, and even restoring the planet.
Thank you. I love that, because I feel like what we've talked about a lot here is that practice around the view of our reality and the evaluation that we have of that viewpoint, really. And in our daily practices, how do we stay in a harmony and a frequency with our present moment of gratitude enough so that we can recognize those signs to guide us towards the next thing that expands us, because really it's expansion or contraction, right? Are we contracting or are we expanding? If I'm expanding towards you, then we're going to create something together. And in that creation, that harmony of those frequencies creates a whole world unto itself, and that ripples out. And no matter if it's somebody on the street that you meet eyes with and smile, or you are creating a story with a friend and you're making a podcast, it's a ripple. And the more that we can have these connections with each other from a place of gratitude and from a place of inner harmony, then of course the equation would say that we can create a world that is in harmony and is a restored, harmonious state forever. Of course the equation would lead to that, because each doing their part and then clicking together with each other. I know in my reality that exponential energy that I feel with people when we are so in alignment with the same energy field, whether it's a project we're working on or whether it's just the coolest night of our lives, we're having so much fun, whatever it is that we've created a container for, we magnify each other and we rapidly move energy in much faster currents, right?
Well, let's talk about some specific examples of people that are living this way, that have found each other and that are investing in that resonance. I know that you actually, from being in Ashland, and I used to live in Boulder, I have some people in mind that have created businesses based in this resonance, harmonious balance, harmony with the earth model, and then also some pretty large communities around the world that we know about. And we wanted to give some specific examples, and I'm sure, I think you maybe have a little bit more experience of relating with these people and these businesses and these places. And so do you have any stories, or just I want to really highlight these people that are actually living this?
Well, we'll start with I guess just the history with me and coming into placemaking and the following of the path into finding you was really around how can we take it from these temporary autonomous situations that we build in festival and production world, where we create a whole world like Burning Man, a whole city, and then we tear it down. How can we make this be something that can live on? And that was something that I came through a few friends connecting in Portland, that one Burning Man met a group of people from Colorado, and it formed a union where 26 of them came out on an airplane all dressed in white, and that was a fun thing for them, I'm sure, to take over that plane. And they all came out just radiant and happy and grateful to come and visit us. And there was 26 of us that drove out in our big Burning Man vehicle, our big bus, and we met at the beach, and we had a convergence, I say, of 52 jokers, because it was 52 people. It was like a full deck. And what we found in that was their world held keys completely to what our questions were, and vice versa.
Right.
And that we had to come together at that point, or all these different types of projects weren't going to have their match. And it was on every level. It was
sharing our resources.
It was light and sound technologies. It was new ways of doing social governance. It was all new types of food infrastructures. It was all different things stemmed from this convergence. And so then the next year we invited 7 cities and a nomadic contingency, and we created Tribal Convergence Gathering out of it. And that natural evolution with Jamaica Stevens at the helm, who had fallen in love with a man named Nolis at Burning Man, that union of their souls led to Denver, his home, Portland, her home, converging, which opened the door to, at the same property as Beloved Festival, 7 cities coming together. And what we found with that was that the needs and deficits of one were the abundances of the other. And it was just this natural case where the things that you focus on, you get really, really good at, and then some of the things that you haven't focused on, you lack at. And that we can't all do it alone. And none of these projects that have been founded anywhere were done alone. They weren't one person. And even in that one person's never really alone. The food that they have, the clothes that they're wearing, everything in their life, the gasoline in the car was made from someone else. So your entire life isn't alone. But that was the first time in my life I really felt the tapestry, where I really saw it outside of myself. And that continued where Tribal Convergence actually created a whole council, and then they created, at Jamaica Stevens at the helm again, with an amazing council of people, Re-Inhabiting the Village. And Re-Inhabiting the Village is a guidebook that's like 280 pages filled with some of the most amazing visionary artists and revolutionary leaders of permaculture, design, and the social infrastructures of how you really come back to a village. And this is what was the inspiration for me years ago around Barbara Marx Hubbard's work and that map that I spoke to at the first episode, and we keep hearkening to, because really our entire flow chart of this series is the village map. Where it's this wheel of co-creation where each segment matters and
that
each
is the
spoke
vision
matters.
of a world that works for everyone. Most likely looks like the way a village operates.
Right.
You know, everyone is invited to express what is theirs to do, what they're vibrant at, and then what you're obviously lacking and quote unquote need help with. It just comes naturally because that's someone else's pure expression, and it all just fits together, and then all of a sudden you're in this sustainable, productive community. And that this is what the world works for everyone. In all my visions, it's like there's all a network of communities of various sizes all around the planet, right? And
we'll be linking in a future episode a lot more of these tools for really the people that have been putting together those sustainable community networks. There are some really cool databases that are forming, and it's all the stuff that I saw when I was young, because it's like you just said so eloquently. I had no words for it when I was young. I just saw it in dreams from aerial view, and I saw golden light spirals through cities, and then I saw these connection points all around the planet, and how they had the same patterns, the same codes, and I couldn't understand that on an intellectual level until much later. And when I really geeked out as a science nerd, I started getting that it was like mycelium, and it was these webs that, much like a sentient being of one forest, of one mind, of the redwood tree, I saw these underground root systems popping redwood trees up with the same DNA, the same code from this mother, and that this web was already there, and it was in us, and that we just had to awaken to it. So that's the much more.
That is the key. What you just said right there is the core thesis of how can we restore the planet to balance? How are we going to restore the planet to balance? We're already all connected. Look at the internet. We're already all connected. What if we were to consciously claim the truth of that connection and all share our resources openly, right? Then the earth will come into balance, and every single thing, our food, our energy sources, and all of that. And truly, the free energy device has already been brought into reality, but it was shot down and pushed down because those in power need to have that great energy, but we're all participating in that in our own little way. And so I love that's what you're saying, in that how are you cultivating community? How are you sharing your resources? Where are the networks happening? And I love that we're giving some specific examples for people that are listening to, look up Re-Inhabiting the Village and look up Tribal Convergence.
And here's a couple more things that I think could be incredibly inspiring for people if you're not familiar with Dom and Her or Tamara Institute in Portugal.
My former wife just went and sent all these pictures back from it and said that when she's a sensitive being, but she said when she walked immediately onto the property, she was completely transported into this utopian society filled with art and
This
magic.
is Dom and Her in Italy.
Yeah.
And the profound nature of people coming together with intention it's radical and revolutionary in every regard, always, all throughout history. People coming together not just for action because they need to maintain the status quo. That is a mundane energy. When people come together with an heightened intention and they are vibrating at that frequency, then that creative potential, that portal is so fresh and vibrant. And what has been the real anchor with this was a long-term dedication to maintaining that. And so whether instead of having a potent field that is short-term, like what I was talking about with our community of event producers and media producers and musicians, to have these short-term installations where we have a really heightened frequency and a really heightened potency, but having something that is transcendent of that, where it can actually ground and become base layers of your life, so that that transcendent high peak experience can be a high plateau experience, where you're living with
the
people
new normal.
In that new normal. And so these people that have been living in Italy since 1975 in this, what is considered a commune and a cult to some, and to them a spiritual sovereign art renaissance installation. And really for them, I think that it's about the community and the dedication to the land itself. And so the more that we can loop this back around for you guys and give you a really like beautiful wrap up here, is around the energy that you create in your field, the intention in your day. That is numero uno.
Your relationship to your
relationship to your resources, your relationship to the stuff that you have around you, and how you take care of that stuff, how you honor that stuff, and how you create a beautiful, harmonious, organized, and clean space for your day to exist. That is a really simple way and very deep practice where you can then that is your new normal and your new base layer for the flow state and life itself to flow from. And then the connective points can start to manifest, where if each person has that duty, instead of being that scientist wizard that is the character in the movie that's constantly frazzled, and I'm just like becoming it because I can do that as an actress right now, I'm so good at it. I'll just become this character that's so frazzled, trying to find the answer, trying to find the secret to how we're going to have the great life or fix the planet. And that energy isn't going to work. The only way it's going to work is to slow down, create a world around you that's harmonious, create a feedback loop in your reality where you're listening to your internal voice, honoring your infinite child, seeing the resources around you, being in the value of your own breath. And then you can start to see what's the next step. Those things have to be in place. And then safety is already there. It's inherent. Right. Then trust is inherent. And you can move forward knowing that you have your base needs met. And no government, no person can take your safety away, your basic needs, or anything from you, because you're completely free. Right. And so the more that we can really come back to that frequency of your now, your layers of that onion or that flower around you, those petals around you, the space that's right next to your body, and then out. What are your connections with your beloveds? Those will be changed and altered from the connection you have with your outer space.
When you say you're not eloquent.
Nah, I never said that. I said I couldn't so eloquently say it when I was young.
That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
That was so nice. That was like listening to a symphony of harmonics, and seeing all these music shapes around you as you were talking, deeply resonating with that synthesis of everything we've been talking about. And in my completion of this conversation, what is standing out for me to contribute is that in order to create the conditions of which to claim our power as creator, in order to become aware of what all of our resources are and the inspiration of how to express them, we must take responsibility and acknowledge the resistance and our the values that we already have, and that it's hardwired into our society. You said the word commune. I grew up in the South, and commune, to commune with, to commune with the divine,
Community.
To become one with. Community
Right.
is a one unit where people band together. That's what that word
That's
is.
what it means.
But it has been changed
Right.
into meaning something derogatory, commune, cult, evil, right? And that is a projection that has been, it's a value that's been placed on something superfluously. It's extra value that is not
to push it
essentially there in order to resist that. And I was explaining to you this the other day as well. I looked up the word meek because I was feeling Christ's presence around me and hearing that in my head. The meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth.
Right.
And that all fits together amazingly. When I looked up the definition of meek, there was 3 definitions. The first definition was weak and powerless and always needing the help of others. The second definition was someone that's docile and easily influenced or manipulated. And the third definition was, and the word, it said, definition 3, obsolete, meaning that no one uses this definition for this word anymore. But it is the oldest and original definition of it, which would relate back to when Christ said it.
To the Bible.
And the definition was meek, gentle, and kind.
The gentle and kind.
And to be gentle and kind, right? When I feel gentleness, it's a slow, easy way. That's what flow is. That's what being resourced is. There's no hurry. There's no grasping. There's simply an enjoyment of that flower unfolding as you spoke of. And to be gentle and kind with our body, to be gentle and kind with our communications with others, to be gentle and kind with the earth, right? And I think about, the oil rigs and all the things that we're doing. That's not gentle and kind, right? It's almost like a harsh taking and grasping. So when we apply that, the meek shall inherit the earth, if I know that I can be gentle and kind, and I'm going to use that gentle and kindness to first look upon what I've been doing, what we've been doing, and what we've done. I've made something bad and wrong out of the very thing that will liberate me. And I can own that and see it. And when I do, I can be gentle with it and be like, and that's okay because it brought me to here to see what I see. And now this is a new day. This is a new free moment.
And here you are in the perfection of now.
So how can we cultivate gentleness with your body?
Ease, grace.
And in your relationships and in the way that you engage your resources, both in a career or making a living capacity, and then also how you're doing your own space. And I know that I'm taking that from this conversation, a greater intentional awareness around how I'm cultivating and maintaining that space, and just admitting how I've been lazy and uncreative now.
And we are all creators of our reality. We're all writers of our now. And that's what I think I want in this whole golden thread to weave through this whole story that we're speaking is you are the writer of your own story. And if we really do want to see a world that works for everyone, then let's write it. Yeah. Well, thank you, Colby. Thank you
May we most be known for being gentle and kind.
Yeah. Yes. And if we leave tomorrow, may people remember us as ones that were present with them and we're gentle and kind.
Thank you.
We love you, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.